interview itself. Let's start with that. Did you have to get a did it ask you to okay the recording or no?
Yeah, and I got it. So can you
Okay.
still see me?
Yes. Yeah. If you can sit up just a little bit, just to give a little less headroom, or point the camera more
Let me see. Hold on.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's perfect right there. That's great.
Is that better?
Yep. First of all, let's begin there, kind of with what you were talking about. Talk about why this legally is, why you guys took the position you did legally in that memo that you sent out.
Sure. So by way of background, I do have to give a little bit of background here for general understanding. So the current order of the acting secretary, it contains many exceptions to the general masking requirements. Those exceptions to the general masking requirements necessitate essentially subjective determinations by a school entity concerning whether or not an individual meets these vaguely defined standards. So accordingly, the order itself, it built into the current order are justifications in language of the order that did not include any details on how they're proven. And to say that again, this order included built-in justifications. And the language of the order did not include details on how they can be proven. It was left up essentially to the school districts. So what that means is what could be an exception in school district A may not be an exception in school district B. As prosecutors, we have to have a good faith basis to believe that we can prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. And to make that determination, we look at the statute, which here would be the initial order by the acting secretary. The issue here is that it's speculative and vague, and therefore unenforceable. There's just too much room for individual interpretations based on what school district you live in. There's no duration. There's no way that we could ever have consistent enforcement. And it is very important for people to understand that criminal laws must have specificity of definition. So we have the highest burden in the criminal justice system is to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt. And if we don't even know what is an exception and what is not, then there is no way for us to be able to properly enforce this order in a non-arbitrary manner. So just like our burden of proof is higher, criminal law requires more. Now, this is, Michael, it's very important to understand that this solely relates to the summary citation that was discussed and has been discussed. Well, this solely relates to a summary citation that ties back to the order from the acting secretary. Okay, so this solely relates to summary offense criminal violations and not any other criminal statute. So therefore, law enforcement may file charges or other applicable criminal violations surrounding potential callouts, such as those found in the criminal code, the vehicle code, or other drug laws. Specifically, and I want to emphasize this, any harassing, threatening, or other violent behaviors in any form will not be tolerated at any time and will be fully prosecuted by this office. And I also want to say, because it's so important, at no point should any of these instructions be interpreted in any fashion as detracting from the seriousness of COVID-19 or downplaying the personal responsibility that we all in this community share towards each other.
To be clear, for people that'll end up watching this is completely different than, say, a private business that has a sign on the door that says we require masks to come in here. That's their decision. Yes. And then there could be a citation for trespassing, right? If someone violates that type of edict.
Yeah.
Totally different.
You're absolutely right. And although it won't make it to your story, I appreciate your reporting on this because, the reason we put this memo out was to provide specific guidance in an otherwise just ambiguous scenario. And we also have to remember when we're talking about children and parenting, I mean, that strikes at the heart of all of our, of the root of who we are as human beings to protect our children. And when you have an order that's put out under that scenario, that's so vague, people will assign their own meaning to it. And when they assign their own meaning to it, then who knows what will happen. So very simply, this solely relates to a summary citation for someone who could be violating this order from the acting secretary. All other potential crimes that could come about as a result of anything that occurs either tied to this order or separately will certainly be prosecuted just like we would anything else. Your scenario of someone walking into, and that scenario of trespass is critical. So, if a private business owner follows the law and instructs someone to leave in accordance with the law, okay, and if that is any way tied to masking, then the police will respond. Of course, they will respond. If someone threatens someone, or if someone, talks to someone in a threatening manner that could rise to the level of terroristic threats, that will be investigated, of course. Any harassing behavior will be investigated. And so the reality is, what we wanted to do was put meat on the bones of this order and make sure that people understand what the expectations are so that they can make informed decisions.
What's the best piece of advice you can give to someone, to whether it be a school board member who's been reaching out, or anyone that might just say, like, I'm so confused now. How do I approach this?
Well, and that's been the issue since the very beginning. That has been the issue. You have every different school board, you have different parents, you have different police departments, and you have everyone getting information from different places, okay, from social media, from maybe cable news. And everyone has in their mind formulated this belief that exists that may or may not be rooted or based in any fact, logic, or science. And so when you look at an order of this nature that is vague, you have to rely on experts. So for example, school board solicitors, they provide school boards with legal advice on how to navigate all these waters. When you look at society generally, I mean, every single one of us has a duty to each other. And we have to do the best we can under such tremendously difficult circumstances to try to understand where we all come from and why we all feel the way and believe what we do. Because the reality is, when we discount each other's thoughts and feelings, then what we do is we essentially create an environment in which people dig in deeper. And so we have to all take a deep breath, listen to each other, try to understand where everybody's coming from, follow the order in accordance with the law, and do the best we can to get through a very difficult set of circumstances.
How do you answer someone that says that your decision is politically motivated, politically driven?
Well, we live in a world where every decision that everyone makes is viewed through a political lens. It's just the reality of the world we live in right now. People, no matter what people do, unfortunately, because we are so polarized as a society, people view, and unfortunately, they view everyone's actions through a political lens. It's unfortunate. It's counterproductive to being a healthy and vibrant community. And the reality is, when I hear that said, not just to me, but it's said, to everybody, right? And not even elected officials, but to general citizens, that's political. That's political. The reality is, the way you defeat that is by being transparent. Transparency equals trust. People may disagree with the decisions you make, but in my experience in York, people appreciate the fact that you are transparent and explain how you arrived at a decision, why you made that decision. At the end of the day, that's where we have to get to. We have to break down this political lens through which people are viewing everything that is done in society. And to head down that path, we have to be transparent, and we have to talk to each other, and we have to be willing to have discussions with people that disagree with us and listen to what they say. That's the only way we will get through this. And so I really appreciate that question, because unfortunately that's the world we live in right now. And I do think, though, I am a glass half full optimistic guy, and I truly believe that the more we are all transparent with each other, then the better it will be, and we can get away from this inappropriate and unfortunate narrative.
Interview wise, anything else that I didn't ask that you think is important?
That's it. We got it all.
Okay, I think so.
I just wish that like this whole interview could be, I wish people could see the whole interview, because, it's such an in-depth topic that everything is tied to each other. And I know, you have to operate in sound bites. I just wish there was a way that I could even air this interview. Is there a way that I could put the whole interview up, like on our DA's office Facebook page?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want, I can actually clip it out, and I can send it. I can email it to you. I can WeTransfer. You ever use WeTransfer?
I don't know.
Okay.
No.
I bet. So basically, it's like a file sharing, almost like a Dropbox. But I can like WeTransfer it, and it's just done through a simple email, and then you can download it. You can use it however you'd like if you want.
Yep. If you do that, like, I will definitely put the entire interview up on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Because I think it's important just for people to hear the whole thing.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I can send that to you. No problem at all.
So thank you, Michael. I appreciate it tremendously.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. I'm gonna stop the recording real quick.